Welcome back to 9 a.m. to 5 a.m. As always, I'm your host, John J. Ransom Futrell. This is my Jordan number. This is episode 23. And it's about telling the story. You're actually getting this earlier than you normally would get it. And you're probably going to get a second one this week, which is a rarity for me. I usually drop these on Wednesday. But tomorrow, I actually have to deliver a speech at my former high school to students. Ironically, about living your dreams. Although I work there as a mentor every Wednesday night, it's the first time I'm getting the chance to go in as the entrepreneur to really talk about what makes me who I am in my journey, which is about telling my story, which is what tonight's episode is about, telling the story. There's some key points I want to actually talk about. I actually have written down a list of things. For once, usually I'll do these off the top of my head. But I felt like this is something very important, especially for marketing, no matter what business you're in, no matter what industry you're embracing or trying to get into or whatever your goals are. Telling the story is key. The reason telling the story is key is because telling the story is how you bring people in. That's how you gain an audience. You know, no matter what field you're in, you have to gain an audience, especially if you're selling something. In most cases, we're selling ourselves, no matter what the product is. In this day and age, you're selling yourself. This world is ego-driven, so it's all about the self. And so you have to kind of embrace that to a certain extent. When you're trying to sell a product, you have to be able to appeal to other people's egos. That's, the reality of it. So, I had basically posted this picture earlier, and I had mentioned how there's just certain things that they won't tell you. For example, this is pretty basic. Most people know this. Some don't. Failure does not exist. I'm going to say it again. Failure does not exist. But in my eyes, this is what it really is. Failure does not exist. However, it is either the beginning or the closing of a chapter in your story. I'm going to say it again. Failure does not exist. However, what appears to be failure is either the closing or the beginning of a chapter in your story. Therefore, use it to your advantage. It is what makes you human. It is what should inspire you and make you more passionate about your path. It should help you to live your dreams because it does not exist. It is merely a mind state. It is merely part of your own thoughts. You have the ability to use it to your advantage. If a product does not work, find out the strengths and weaknesses of that product. Find out the strengths and weaknesses of your plan that is not working and work on that. Or altogether, find something within what you were doing that was working and use that for something else. That is part of your story. Everyone has a story. There's not one human being on this planet or in this universe that does not have a story. Every animal has a story. Every creature, every being, everything that exists has a story. There is an infinite amount of memories, an infinite amount of energy, an infinite amount of just ability to find your story. You don't have to tell every single thing. You don't have to tell every part of the chapter. However, there is a story there. If I'm doing a record and the record doesn't go well and I don't sell that many copies, or even if I sell one copy, guess what? Me selling that one copy is part of that story. Because prior to me getting to the point that I could put that record out, there was a whole process that went on before that. Perhaps people aren't buying the record because they don't know about the process that went on before that. Maybe the record is heartfelt. Maybe there's something emotional behind the record. Maybe it's a dedication to someone. Okay, so if it's a dedication to someone, me as an artist, me as a businessman, I have to be thinking, how do I tell the story to my audience in order to get them to buy the record? Because at the end of the day, in this day and age, when you're selling a record, there's no timetable. When you're selling any product, there's really no timetable. There just isn't. People want things fast and quick, but that also means that allows for inventory to exist because as fast as people are selling things, there's always things that are left over that someone else did not see. It was kind of like a conversation I was having recently. Okay, you got a product, you want to hustle it, you want to push it out there. You talking about you trying to make 6 figures. Okay, that's cool. But making 6 figures in $1 billion industry ain't shit. That's the reality of it. All business is about money. Let's just be honest about it. I'm not saying value that more than happiness, value that more than your family or anything like that. But any business that you're in, it's about money. So if you're not really about your money, why would somebody want to spend money on you? Why would someone want to invest in you? What makes people invest in your product? What makes people invest in you? Your story. We all have different stories. Now here's key. If you're in an industry and someone seems to have the same story as you, you need to find what about your story makes you different from that person. What makes you unique? Because, yeah, their story may be working, but guess what? That shit's going to stop somewhere. So if their story stops and you have the exact same story, how exactly can you continue to prosper? Hell, if their story started before yours in the industry, guess what? Your story is likely to end prior to their story because now you look like you're just copying them because you haven't figured out your own story. Think about that, people. Think about it. Now, that being said, let's go into how to tell the story. There's plenty of ways to tell the story. Audio is one way. Visual is another way. Hell, even these podcasts are stories. This is part of my story to you. And you're partaking in these stories. Perhaps these are stories for you. Perhaps these are chapters for you. But there's always different ways to tell the story. One of the key ways to tell a story nowadays through social media is visual. Visual stories, short videos, 15-second videos, just to get people's attention, to grab them to go to your website or go to look at whatever your product is. But the problem with that is that if you do that, you have to be consistent. If you're not a consistent person and you know this, do not do videos. Do not do something that you have a problem being passionate about and consistent about. Because the thing is, your audience will be able to tell. They will be able to tell if you're flaky. You see, we often lose followers or lose some people if we post too much content. The reality is we lose people if we post too much shit content or content that's not directly connecting with that person. However, you also gain followers by doing that as well. Make sure whatever it is that you're doing, whatever way you're telling your story, that it's great content and not bullshit. People can feel bullshit. They may not be able to see it immediately, but they can feel the bullshit. I'm trying to tell you, and that brings me to my next point. I know I'm kind of going through these a little fast, but a little fired up right now. I'm actually chilling tonight since I have to get the speech tomorrow. I'm going to go over that, go over a couple things, and talk to a few clients and shit like that. Now, going along with that, how to tell the story. The key component, where do you start your story at? Obviously, your life. But what about your life? Your character. How you present yourself. What your character is, how people see you and perceive you, what you've done in your past, what are you doing in your present moment? The shit that you're thinking about, the things that you plan on doing tomorrow is part of your character. That's where your story starts. Your character tells a story on its own, prior to any content, prior to any product. Will people buy into your product? How can someone buy into your product if they're not even buying into your character? Especially if you plan on being the face of a brand. If you do not plan on being the face of a brand, okay, well then you can get away with your character being shitty and selfish and narcissistic and all that other shit. But if you're trying to be the face of a brand, you need to understand your character. You need to adjust it. You need to make sure that it's reaching your audience. That shit is very important because your character can also be the glass ceiling that can stop you from reaching the heights that you want to get to. Simply because of your character, the way people perceive you when you walk into a room. Do you have that it factor? That's what that shit really is about in Hollywood. It's not about somebody's personality to a certain extent. It's more about character and presentation. When you walk into the room, do you grab attention? When you post something, do you grab attention? Do people feel like they need to understand or do they want to read into your story? And that's also where transparency can be a problem, because if people feel like they know you too well, they won't buy into you as being a professional. They won't understand that you're a professional. They won't support your product. And trust me, I've been there. I know exactly how that shit is. Some people can only see you in certain lights, so they do not understand your product. They do not understand your story. And that's when those type of people are the type of people that you have to realize your story is not for. Simple. Now, going beyond character, when telling the story, the most, or I can say some of the most important parts of the actual story. Belief. Unshakable belief. You have to believe it. And when I say believe it, I mean fucking believe it. I mean, the first thing that comes to your head when you wake up, the last thing that's on your mind when you go to sleep. You have to fucking believe it. And like, there's no excuse for not believing it. Especially if that's what you want to do. There's no excuse. If you let little bullshit get in your way and stop you from being the best you can be, or breaking down that fucking glass ceiling, or climbing them fucking stairs to get to where you want to get to, guess what? You don't believe it enough. I'm sorry. Hell, fuck that. I'm not sorry. And yes, I'm cursing a lot in this episode. You have to deal with it. If you can't deal with it, it's cool. But belief. You have to believe beyond anything, beyond any person. Hell, beyond your own doubts, you have to believe. You got to be able to take the risk. If it's your vision, why the fuck are you allowing it to suffer because of other people? I'm going to let you think about that shit. And another important part of the story is triumph. Every story, I'm going to say triumph and human emotion. Now, human emotion is supposed to be the next part, but I think these two go together. The reason I say that is because you have to understand. It's fucked up, but it's a fucked up truth. People identify with emotions and triumph. Everyone loves a good story. Everyone loves someone that can go from nothing to something. Now, I will not lie to you. Often at times when you go from nothing to something, people often forget that you came from nothing, especially if you become immensely successful. But in the beginning stages of telling your story, that's extremely important. And I do not mean make some shit up. Because all this in the dark comes to light. I mean, what is your truth? What is that one failure? What is that one heartbreak that pushed you to get to where you want to go? Like, I'll tell you right now, I have a lot of them. I honestly have a lot of them. Whether it was failing my first business, lack of sales with certain products, people trying to typecast me and put me in certain situations, or, I mean, even still to this day, trying to categorize me as something that I'm not without even really paying attention to my product and what I do. Losing my best friend almost 10 years ago. It'll be 10 years in February. Losing my best friend to a heroin overdose. That's part of my story. Those are the things that push me. Those are the things that keep me up, working, going as hard as I can through headaches. Like, even right now, I have a headache and I'm still doing this shit. Why? Because nothing's going to stop me from doing what I need to do. Even with this being a free podcast, I'm not getting any money from this. I'm not gaining truly anything from this. This is more for an audience that I feel is out there that needs motivation. Or hell, I can't even say needs motivation, because that market is so fucking oversaturated. Needs someone relatable. Needs someone to say some shit in a way that they can understand it. I'll say that. But yeah, that's part of what makes me who the fuck I am. It's my emotion. It's my passion. It's what drives me. It's part of my fucking story. And maybe one day, the world will get the full story. From being a baby all the way up. And understand and see, I have a lot of shit to be thankful for, but I have a lot of shit that pushes me. I have a lot of shit that makes me go crazy and work extra fucking hard. Harder than anyone else. I'm always told I'm the hardest working person someone knows. And guess what? I probably fucking am. And I don't even go there and reveal achievements. I don't go there and reveal every single thing I've done or that I'm doing at once and shit like that. Because to me, that's not bragging points, because I'm not where I want to be at. It's all good to feel successful with certain things, but I'm not satisfied. I'm not fucking beat. I'm still working my ass off. I'm still going beyond anyone that I know personally. And I'm going to go 10 times harder. Like, this is just the fucking start. And that's part of my journey. That's part of my story. How the fuck are you going to tell your story? What are you doing? You want to be successful? You want to get it? You want your product to do well? You want your brand to do well? You want to start bettering your life? You want happiness? You want the success? You want the fucking drive to keep going? Fucking believe. Tell your fucking story. And most importantly, beyond anything, the last point and the most fucking important part, the action. I'm not telling you all this shit just so you can feel like, oh, the shit's just gonna happen. You just got bullshit on social media. No. Get your fucking hands dirty. Get out there and put in the fucking work. Because I'm betting you right now, there's a motherfucker working 10 times harder than you are. How does that make you feel? They're gonna be 10 times more successful. And I'm not saying that to breed competition. I know some people, it will cause you to get competitive and want to buck up and want to work hard. But I'm saying that to say this. If they can do it, you can do it. Peace and love. 9 a.m. to 5 a.m.